My name is Grace Butler.
Hi, I'm Katie Duggan.
And this is the Are You Well podcast.
Welcome to the 5th episode of Are You Well podcast. Myself, Katie Duggan, and Grace Butler will be talking about emotional well-being during this lockdown, potentially coming out of lockdown and restrictions being lifted, and intuitive eating and healthy swaps. I hope you enjoy.
So I'm actually, just when you were doing the introduction there, I can't believe we've been at this for just over a month now.
Yeah, 5 weeks.
Yeah, like we started the podcast the week that all of this, so they had just put in like social distancing because we recorded the first episode of the podcast in my house, but But that was the kind of first week of all of this corona lark, and now we're coming into like week 5. It's fairly bananas.
Yeah, what, two extremes?
Mm-hmm.
Two extremes, yeah.
But
I think we're all coping quite well.
I think so
considering.
Too. I think so too.
But like that's what we're built to do, is to cope. As humans anyway, and we mightn't think we're adaptable, but we are very adaptable to our environment, and we have no choice really. So
absolutely. But it's like when you look at we as humans will find a way to cope some way or another, whether it's a good coping mechanism, a bad coping mechanism. It's a coping mechanism all the same, and we are very very inventive and very resourceful, whether we realize it or not.
I like that, inventive, because I've been trying to be inventive in my non-usual way, and sometimes it's really irritating because it's challenging. I'm like, why did I even bother starting that? And then other ways it's like, no, actually this is really nice. I can do this. So it's been a bit of a roller coaster in terms of dipping my toes into different waters and just seeing if I get burnt or not.
Well, absolutely. And coming up with new ways to solve problems, and kind of like trying to come up with ways to break down barriers in that, like, say all along you might have been doing something one way, and then all of this lockdown happens and you're like, well, I can't do that anymore because I can't do it that way. And then you all of a sudden you have to become a little bit more inventive or imaginative to come up with a new way of achieving a similar result, but doing it through different means,
different ways.
So if nothing else, this has been a brain training exercise.
Brain training, definitely. I find that it's made me flexible in more ways than just physical flexibility, but flexibility in my thinking as well, because I'm thinking, this is the way that things have to be done, and they don't. And this lockdown has showed things don't have to be done, and I get to do yoga a lot more with myself than I normally would. So it's a win-win, really.
I am loving doing yoga with myself at the moment. It's so nice. Like I got up out of bed this morning cross-eyed, as I am every morning when I get up out of bed, and I have it's robotic now, because I walk into the kitchen. As I'm walking past, my yoga mat goes up on the clothes there in the nighttime, which I have to walk past to get to the kettle. So I walk past that, throw the mat on the ground, boil the kettle, quick cup of tea, and then onto the mat. And I'm still asleep halfway through yoga. And then all of a sudden I'm like, I'm awake now. And then it's done, and then you can kind of get into the day. But I'm really enjoying doing things. I mean, I'm probably in a better routine now than I ever have been, but it's still at my own pace, so there's no pressure from the outside. It's kind of
I like that. I like that. I just finished an hour's yin yoga before the podcast, and I was like, oh my God, how am I going to even speak now? But it was just, and I found it really hard to settle, because today's been one of those days where I just don't know my arse from my elbow. I'm like, I'll do this, I'll do that, and I end up, if I could tell you what I did today, it's been very little, but yet I feel like I've been at loads. without getting anything accomplished. But I'm like, you know what?
Yeah.
That's okay, because tomorrow will be different because I've done all those kind of bits and pieces today. So, but yeah, I got an hour's yin in, and I'm so
Lovely.
delighted with that. Yeah, it was just, but I
Lovely.
couldn't settle in it. I was like, I was kept looking at it going, is that paused? Has that stopped? Is that frozen? And it's like, no, it's yin. And they do hold the poses for like 8 to 10 minutes. So
Yeah. Yeah,
kind of,
I'm hopefully gonna do, so I was there, I was supposed to do a Zoom in at 5 o'clock, well now, but I think the girl who's doing it is going to try and record it for me and send it to me so I can do it later on. But that's like, I think I was saying that it's a 70-minute in with a 20-minute sound bath at the end of it.
oh, delicious.
It is, I'm so, that's so funny that you say delicious, because I was just about to say delicious. It is beautiful. She's got like these quartz singing bowls. Go off to
Divine.
La La Land.
Divine.
But
yeah.
Yin is lovely. I'm finding yin to be a great exercise at the moment, to stop and to just like slow down, because I come up against an awful lot of resistance, like what you're saying there about not being able to settle into it. I come up with an awful lot of resistance when I'm doing yin, because I'm like, oh, I have to do this and I have to do that, and I did that earlier on, and I have to go walk the dogs now in a few minutes, and da 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 da. But I find it a great exercise just to be like, no, you are in this pose for the next few minutes and you're not going anywhere.
It teaches you massive discipline and makes you sit with yourself. So no, I do love yin, and it's definitely something I'm going to bring forward with me when we get back to whatever normality is. I'm definitely going to do it once a week, maybe on a Saturday or Sunday, because they're my days, whereas there's not a hope that I get yin in Monday to Friday. It's just not possible, and I want to be able to enjoy it and be like, oh no, I have like time to relax after this, so there's no rush, and I can really settle into it. So I'm definitely going to bring that forward with me whenever we get back to our schedules, get back to our lives.
I wonder, this is a conversation I've been having with a lot of people, just asking them to see what they think. But what do you think life is going to be like after all of this?
I hope that it's been a long enough time for change to really set in people's minds, because we can have these romantic ideas like, I'm going to do this after lockdown and I'm going to do that and but it needs time to settle in. So I suppose 5 weeks now we've been with this whole coronavirus. We've been in lockdown for 2 weeks. Is it 2 weeks?
I haven't a clue. I have no idea how long any of this has been going on anymore.
But I think it's very premature. I just don't think it's been long enough for real definite change to take place, but people will certainly have a different perspective. I think people will try to implement some stuff that they have wanted to implement, but has it been in lockdown for long enough? I don't know. So we'll have to wait and see.
Definitely. I think even if you look at like big business and industry, I think we'll see a massive change there with the number of people that'll be working from home, because
I think people will make their
people are going to kick up. They're going to kick up, and I can't blame them. One of my friends, we were having a conversation there the other day, and she was like, I really don't want to go back to work. She said, I'm getting way more work done at home than I ever did in the office. And she was like, my quality of life is so much better. She's eating better, getting in more exercise, able to take more time for herself, spending time with her dogs, and just I'm getting the same amount, if not more, work done than she would be in the office. And I think, and I don't think she's alone in that. I think there'll be a lot of people who will not kick up, but will kind of be like, no, my life was better when I was working at home, and I want my life to and too right. I think as well we'll see an awful lot of businesses will probably scale down in their properties, as in like scale down their office sizes, because if there is going to be a lot of people working from home, then there won't be a need for big massive offices as maybe in some businesses, and they might be able to scale down then as well to reduce overheads and that kind of thing. So that would be another interesting dynamic change, I think.
But the other side of having a place of work is you separate work and home life. Like I find, because I work from home and I work in the gyms or classes or whatever, I find it very hard to switch off from work, because I'm like, sure, I'll answer that last message, or I'll set the timetable for tomorrow, or I'll do this now before I go to bed, or like, it's very hard to separate it. Whereas when you go to the office, you clock in and you clock out, and that's your work day done. And some people go to work to get a break from family and kids and
definitely. I don't think working at home would suit everyone. I know it definitely suits me, because what you were saying there about finding it hard to separate work and like life, that actually doesn't I find it hard as well. Like, I'm still doing worky type stuff and things at 11 o'clock in the night if I'm awake, but it doesn't bother me. I actually don't mind doing it, because it means then that, all right, I'm sitting on the sofa in the night time doing a few bits and bobs, but I took 3 hours off in the middle of the day and went for the longest walk ever with my dogs. Do you know, that kind of way? So Jesus, that suits me. But then you might have a mother of 4 children who's like, God, no, get me out of this house. So, it's different for everyone. I do think I would love to see that that maybe there's a little shift towards suiting obviously you can't suit everybody, but a shift towards kind of being a lot more flexible to suit different people and different arrangements.
Yeah, and I think employers will be open to that, because if you have happy employees, they'll be more productive, there'll be less absenteeism, there'll be more work morale, and when they're in work, they'll be happy to be in work, if that's going into the workplace when they know they have a day or two at home as well. So I think there will be, like, businesses have been affected massively. Like kind of the businesses that have to open their doors for to make money. So I think they will be willing to change and see, maybe we'll have an online Pennies.
Oh,
imagine how dangerous.
That would be lethal. What I would love to see, I said this to my mother the other day, and mom was laughing at me, because somebody was talking about wanting to go to Pennies, and then I was like, I just want to go charity shopping. That is all I want to do. And so I would love to see, like St. Vincent de Paul and all of them set up their proper online shops that I could just.
They probably will.
Yeah, I'd love to see that, because that's one thing that I have a few bits in my head that I need, and like clothes wise, like I want a few more jumpers and like comfy clothes, but I absolutely refuse to buy them from any of those big online retailers, because I just really want to do what I can do for the planet, you know what I mean? And I want to do my little bit, and so I just don't want to buy clothes from those bigger places anymore. So I'm like, can you still give me a charity shop? Just bought one online that isn't a vintage shop that's going to cost me a bomb as well. Do you know what I mean? Because I'm like, what's the difference between like a charity shop and some vintage? Not every vintage shop, but some of them.
Yeah.
I'm like, what is the difference? Why is this shirt €3 there and €50 there? It's still old. It's worn by somebody else. So
can you imagine how bursting at the seams second-hand shops are going to be now, with everybody like clearing out and getting rid of stuff? And
I have 3 black sacks of stuff in my front room, and I am not finished clearing out my wardrobe. I keep going through it every week, because I'm like, oh no, I keep that shirt, wear that at some stage. Lies. I don't even like half the things. I don't even like them anymore. I just keep them because I don't know. I like the idea of them. So I'd say they're going to be inundated with clothes.
Yeah, this Saturday now I'm going to do a massive clear out. I've been holding back on doing it, because I was like, I want to just give it one big massive go. So this Saturday I'm going to organise, clear out, get rid of my winter stuff into storage, and without the summer stuff. So because I have so much clothes, I have so much, and when they're packed away, you forget what you have, and then you go shopping. Whereas now I can't go shopping. Well, I try not to shop on, because when it comes and doesn't fit and it's not like the 6 foot model wears it,
Oh my
I
God,
get really annoyed.
that is not good for the soul. That is not good for the
No,
soul.
no. Or when it's see-through, when it clearly shouldn't be see-through because the
Yeah,
material is that bad.
yeah.
So
I
yeah.
know it well. I know it well. And then cue the little mental breakdown that comes afterwards saying, like, why doesn't this fit me? Even though, and you're like, I'm after putting on so much weight. And in reality, it's like, no, the sizes are so inconsistent from where you have
Yeah.
purchased this from. But yeah, no. it'll be interesting. It'll be funny to see all the charity shops and stuff.
They'll be busting at the seams.
Literally busted at the seams. They'll have to you'll have to take a ticket and drop your bag back off when they can actually accommodate all of the stuff.
Speaking of busting at the seams, I hope that people are not getting lockdown love handles and, you know,
Oh my
abusing their
God.
bodies, because it's easy to do. Because I
Oh,
did it for the
so
first 2
yeah.
weeks as kind of a comfort. I was like treating myself to wine and treats, but it's not a treat when it's every night. Now, wine wasn't every night, but it was definitely Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, a glass. But the chocolate and the ice cream was an evening thing, 7 days a week. And I really had to rein myself in and say, okay, now pick and choose the nights that you want to have this, because I don't want to have to be rolled out of lockdown.
Oh, Katie, the first 2 weeks of all of this, oh my God, I think back now with the amount of food I ate, and I'm like, that is actually sick. Like, sick. To the point where it took, I'd say, a week and a half for me to just not be bloated anymore. Do you know what I mean? Like,
it's a comfort thing, though.
Yeah, and you see, like, I as far like I can't even talk today. When I go shopping for myself, I don't buy any meat, and didn't used to buy any animal products, but then if I was down at my mum's and there was like roast chicken dinner, I wouldn't say no to it. So that kind of like, from what I was buying for myself, I was predominantly plant-based, but then I go down to Mum's and there'd be cake or there'd be dinner of some description, and I'm like, oh yeah, I'll have some of that. Like, I'm not gonna waste the food. But like, I was eating all of that food, and then I was eating all of the cake, and then I was coming back up here and eating all of the chocolate, and like eating all my crisps, and just eating myself at a house and home every couple of days. And I had to stop. I just had to stop because I was so sluggish all of the time walking around the house. Like, I need a nap. And then I'd be so bloated then as well, and I just feel permanently full. So I had to call it quits. But I think that happened pretty much everybody.
I think everybody was the same.
Yeah, I think we all just kind of lost the run of ourselves for a couple of weeks. But a lot of most of my friends anyway, from what I can see, have kind of gone back to their normal eating habits. I suppose because everyone has more time on their hands now. Like I said that to you a few minutes ago, I'm now making my own granola because I have time on my hands to do it. You know what I mean? So it's in theory very easy to implement good habits when you have all of this time on your hands.
Yeah, because you're in charge of the shopping. You're in charge of what you put into your prices. You're in charge of what you cook for yourself. So why not just don't buy the shitty stuff, and then you won't eat it.
No, I can't buy anything that I could tempt myself with because I have absolutely no willpower whatsoever when it comes to food. None. So I have to have, and the thing about it is when I have all of the healthy things here, I don't even think like, oh, I'd love some chocolate. I'm like, oh yeah, banana, okay, or oh yeah, I'll have bowl of granola, or you know, like I'll make myself a salad or whatever, and I'm happy out with my salad. Do you know what I mean? Loads of spinach and balsamic vinegar and an arseload of mushrooms. And I'm happy out then, do you know what I mean? But then if the chocolate and stuff is there, if there's cake there, I will obliterate it. And never mind this whole, eat until you feel full. I'm like, eat until I physically cannot stuff any more into my mouth.
But sure, that's the thing. Like, you can eat 3 candy bars or chocolate bars, but you won't eat 3 apples in a row because chocolate is just empty calories, and the same with
Yeah,
crisps, and it's just
yeah.
a never-ending feast.
Mm-hmm. So
But
good
no,
though.
I've got back on track now, and I feel so much better.
Yeah,
So much
so do I.
better.
I feel
I'm like,
much.
why am I punishing myself with food when I know it's just making me feel shitty?
But that's the thing. It's instant gratification,
Mm,
isn't it? It's
yeah,
like
yeah.
you just feel good for like 5 seconds, and then afterwards, then you feel sluggish. And this, you see, the thing about that as well is, like I'm looking over onto the counter there, and there's a jar of pistachios. I would be liable to sit down and eat that whole jar of pistachios. There's no guilt with
Goodness.
that. Do you know what I
Mm,
mean? As much as there would be with like, if I
whole
had like
bag of Doritos.
yeah, do you know what I mean? Like if I
Mm,
sit there and eat a jar of pistachios, that's grand. As as far as like on the grand scheme of binge eating goes, a
yeah,
jar of pistachios is okay.
it's
Whereas
not bad.
like
It's not bad.
yeah, like what you said, if the Doritos were there now, I'd absolutely make bits of them. They wouldn't last 10
Yeah.
minutes, and then I'd feel full and need a nap. Um, so that kind of brings us on to one of the topics that we said we discussed today, and that is intuitive eating.
Mm,
So, okay, I suppose intuitive eating to me, for anybody who doesn't know, is literally just listening to yourself, eating when you are hungry, but not overeating when you're hungry.
mm,
So, like, just kind of listening. I suppose the thing about that then as well is you really need to listen to your body and not your mind, because sometimes
mm.
your mind is like, I need a chocolate bar, and your body is like, no you don't, you need an apple.
It's a bit like the angel and the devil on the shoulders.
Yeah,
One is telling you, eat it all, eat the whole chocolate, the cake. And the other one's like, no, you regret it 10 seconds after it's all finished. But
yeah.
intuitive eating for me is just because it says it's healthy, or just because it says, like it's going to make you feel good and lean, doesn't mean that it's good for you. So intuitive eating for me is, I know that if I have Greek yogurt, I'm going to be all sinusy. Or if I have some sort of cheese, or if I have dairy, that's just going to make me feel like crap. And some people, I can see people on Instagram having like their bowls of yogurt and blueberries. Like, oh my god, that looks so nice and so healthy, but I just can't have it.
Mm-hmm.
Or different things would bloat me and just not make me feel nice. And they're like healthy foods, but I know, because I know my body better than anybody else, that
Yeah.
I just can't eat it. But intuitive eating for me is like that: eat when I'm hungry, try to not snack all day, because I'm eating, and my body's actually, my digestive system's not actually resting.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just constantly overloading it, and I haven't actually had a proper meal. So what I try and do is have 3 big meals and make sure that it has color of the rainbow, that it's all the stuff that I know that is good for me. But my problem is I have to finish everything on my plate, and I really struggle with that. Even when I'm like bursting, I will still have to finish that last scrap. I cannot. I don't know what it is. It's like,
It's
is it
because
waste or?
No, it's because when you were little, you were told that you should finish that because there are children starving in Africa. That's why.
Yeah,
but
that's something that I'm trying to work on, and eating slowly, because I'm a really fast eater as well. So it doesn't register with me when I'm full. So I've been really slowing down. And what I find now, because I'm really enjoying my food, eating outside, not in a rush to get to the next place, that I feel myself getting full, and I'm like, okay, maybe I don't have to finish all that, or I just don't put as much on my plate. But yeah, so that's one thing.
One thing I find, because I'm the same, I have to finish everything on the plate, because I get flashbacks of the Troker box as a child, being directed to that if there was anything left on the plate. But one thing I find that helps me, just with like playing tricks on myself, is I will make 2 portions of something. So if I can, if it's something that will wait until tomorrow, so I make 2 portions, and then it means I can have 2 smaller size portions there, and if I want more, I can have more. But then if not, there's a second portion there for tomorrow. Do you know what I mean? So because sometimes I make way too much for myself, and then sometimes like I'll have like a nice bigger than belly moment, or then sometimes I'll make something and I'll finish it and I'll be like, I'm still starving. And then that's where I go down the disaster zone of opening up the box of Crunchy Nut cornflakes, which is just a recipe for disaster for me, because once I open that box of Crunchy Nut cornflakes, that is it. You might as well kiss them goodbye. I need the whole box. The whole box in one
Just pour the milk into the bag and squeeze it out the bag.
No, I made myself feel better because I'm like, oh, but I'm using almond milk. I'm still eating a whole box of cereal, like still a whole box of sugar. But on like with the whole thing of like eating fast, I have found now that I turn everything off when I'm eating. So I try not to. I used to always be like, oh, I'm going to have my breakfast, so I'm going to listen to a podcast now, or I'm going to watch a YouTube video, or I'm going to put something on Netflix while I'm eating. Whereas now I have nothing. There is absolutely nothing on when I'm eating, and all I'm doing at that current point in time is eating, because then I won't overeat, because I'm concentrating on just the food that's in front of me rather than mindlessly eating. Why? Because that's how I end up overeating 80% of the time anyway, is I'm just watching something, not paying one bit of attention to what I'm doing, and I'm just out of pure robotic habit just shoving food into my mouth. So I found that's a big thing that's helped me to stop overeating, is just turn off all the devices. I don't need to be entertained while I'm eating. Leave the food entertaining.
It's just a distraction, like.
Oh yeah, sure. We're devils for trying to distract ourselves.
Yeah, because I'm in control of my portions, because I'm cooking all of my meals, I know exactly in or around how much I need. So I'm like, if I finish it all, I just know that that's the amount that I need. So that's one way. But when we get takeaway, I'm like, okay, you do not need to eat all the rice, and you can have like a bit of naan bread. And what I try and do is put all the takeaway on the plate, and then just put the rest of it then in because they always give you so much, like give you so much.
Takeaway is one takeaway is 2 meals for me, as far as like say if you're getting like Chinese, Indian. We got it was my brother's birthday yesterday, so we got Kyoto yesterday.
My favorite.
It was so good. It was so good.
Black
so like
bean stir fry.
I got the teriyaki stir fry, but I had 2 portions in that. Do you know what I mean? Like, because I ate down there when everyone else was eating, and then sure look, I finish it off then at 11 o'clock last night.
Oh, nice.
It was so good, because I was sitting there, I was like, I'm kind of hungry, and I was like, I don't want to go into the box of Crunchy Nut cornflakes because it's just all sugar. Well, most of it is sugar. So I was like, no, actually, wait, I have this left, and I ate it, and it was lovely. Thoroughly enjoyed.
Well, I find Kyoto the healthiest takeaway that you can get, because it's so clean. Definitely. You can see all the ingredients that are in it, and they're all very fresh. So I wouldn't feel guilty for finishing Kyoto.
Yeah, so it was really, really good, to be fair. Thoroughly enjoyed it. The tofu was lovely. Do you eat tofu? What's your view on tofu?
I used to always get it, but now I ask not for it, because I don't know, unless they say it's organic and it's very high quality, then I don't bother.
Yeah, I have mixed opinions on it myself, but I still eat it. But I suppose that brings us. That brings us on to food choices in general, because you, as I said, I don't buy any, everything that I buy for myself in the house is plant-based. I will deviate from that for special occasions and things like that. But you are veggie as well.
I am completely veggie, no chicken, meat, or fish. And I was the biggest fish lover in the whole entire world, and then lo and behold, I got food poisoning. So that is my fish relationship. But you know what? I was kind of saying to myself, oh, I'd love to be veggie. And then 2 weeks later, I got food poisoning. So I have been vegetarian for over 2 years, and I find it great.
That was the universe. That was the universe.
Oh my God.
Just being like, oh, you want to be veggie? Do you? Do you?
Yeah.
We'll just
Here,
burn
it's
that
one
out
thing.
of you.
And like, I don't mind people eating it, but and I wouldn't even mind if some put it in front of me. I just couldn't bring myself to eat it. And yeah, I don't even miss it. Like,
Yeah, but
I
you know
don't
what?
miss it.
That it's so funny because that is what that is a trauma. Because like, no, exactly, this is a real thing. I don't care what anyone says, because I remember I got a stomach bug 5, 6, 7, I don't know how many years ago, but the last thing I ate before I knew I was sick was a bacon and egg burger. It was probably 4 years before I touched a burger again. Still, I don't think I still haven't eaten a fried egg. And you know, it didn't turn me off bacon, because I spent the first 16 years of my life living on absolutely nothing, only Russian sausages. But yeah, it turned me completely off burgers for 4 or 5 years.
I was never into burgers anyway.
And fried eggs as well. I was just like, oh, I can't actually do that to myself again. Like, it was just pure trauma. I could never stomach them afterwards, because you'd be so sick, like you'd be so unwell.
Oh, I would have happily died. I was that sick for at least 6 hours. I was like, okay, just take me now, because this is unbearable.
Take me now.
But I need those kind of things to like push me in the other direction. Otherwise, I'd be kind of dabbling, and I'd be sorry. Then I'd be like, oh, I can't stick with it. So yeah. I'm thankful that it happened. But it makes me very I have to really look at my meals then to make sure that I'm getting my protein, fats, carbohydrates, all of my vitamins and minerals, because you're like, right, if I'm not getting the direct protein meat source, then I have to look elsewhere. So I'm enjoying kind of the dabbling and what's good, what's not. And that's where tofu comes in, because that's kind of the go-to for veggies is tofu.
Yeah.
Well, there's cleaner proteins out there that you can get.
Totally. I think tofu I put in things where I would miss having something of that texture. Do you know what I mean? Where I'd be
I get you.
So I'd use it in that case. But it's funny you should say about like your macronutrients. Because so I originally decided to go plant-based in like 2000, and I don't know, say 4 years ago, I think it might have been, maybe 5 years ago. And the reason I did that, don't get me wrong, I love the animals, but it wasn't the animals were not my motivator there. The motivator was that I ate about 7 different types of food, and that was the grand total of it. 6 of the 7 types of food were meat, and then the other was mashed potatoes or chips. And I was just like, I can't actually be a full functioning adult living on a diet like this. And I wanted to start eating more veg. And I was like, right, well, if I cut out just meat, I know I'm going to trickle over onto the likes of cheese and stuff, and just live on cheese. And I was like, right, okay, we'll just cut it all out. All of it gone. So cut out all of the animal products overnight, went plant-based, and I stayed that way for a good 8 or 9 months as an exercise to try and introduce more foods into my diet. But it's so easy when you're veggie or when you're plant-based to just lean towards carbs.
Oh my God.
Just fill yourself up with carbs. So it made me very conscious then with like what you're saying, my macronutrients, to make sure I was getting in enough fats and proteins. So it's been, I don't know, I find it a great way to kind of make you more aware of the food you're eating and what's in the food you're eating. And
you have more variety and more kind of, they make more of an effort, I feel, in restaurants or when you're going for lunch to have, because the vegetarian is always some like outlandish name on it, and it has all the bells and whistles, whereas you just get your bacon and eggs or your steak and 2 meat and veg. Whereas the vegetarian comes out and they're nearly dancing bringing it out because it looks so fancy.
Yeah. I love that. I love getting going for food in places that have a decent menu like that, because I think it's a great opportunity for chefs and for restaurants to get creative. No, I'd
Yeah, to
say
try
this.
something different.
Yeah, yeah. Like I used to in some of the restaurant in one of the places that I used to work, one of the chefs used to quite enjoy it because it was a challenge.
Yeah.
And so like just again like a brain training exercise to try and come up with something different. What would you use then as your sources of protein and your sources of fat?
Fat would always be avocado, nuts, seeds, oils. Protein then would be beans, lentils, beans and legumes. Cauliflower and broccoli have high amounts of protein. What else? Hemp seeds. I just ordered them online actually. Hemp seeds and spirulina.
Yeah.
And protein powder. I do take protein powder maybe in my porridge, so I'd have that like 3 or 4 times a week.
Yeah.
That's kind of my main. On eggs, I love eggs.
Oh, I do. That is one thing I do eat is eggs. I do. Because I just
have eggs
find
every morning.
The reason I cut out dairy, meat just doesn't agree with me anyway. It makes my stomach kind of sore. But the reason I cut out dairy then was I had that flare up of eczema, which was just not an experience I want to repeat. But I do have eggs just for fat and protein, and like I mean, French toast now. French toast.
Oh,
I love French toast. It's so good. They are a great source of protein.
Eggs, yeah,
and fat. Yummies.
And fat, yeah. They're an all-rounder. Yeah, I was the same. That's why I had to give up. It was about 14 or 15 years ago. When I was in first or second year, I was brought to a acupuncturist because psoriasis and sinuses were just, it was unbearable now at that point. And living out in the country didn't help with the hay fever either.
No.
So he said, cut out all dairy. And I haven't really drank milk, or if it's processed dairy, it's not too bad, but I will still get redness. I'll wake up with spots in the morning, or I'll get psoriasis in my hair or something like that, because it causes massive inflammation for my sensitive skin.
But it causes massive inflammation for everyone.
It's mucus forming.
Like I was never like when I was growing up, it's funny because if she ever does listen to this, the girl I'm talking about will know exactly that I'm talking about her. But I used to go to my nanny's house every Saturday, my dad's mother, and the woman that lived across the road from her had a daughter who is the same age as me. So I used to always be over in their house, and her mother used to go off on a Saturday morning and buy a 2-litre carton of milk just for me. Because I would be over, I would drink like
a guzzle.
I would guzzle milk when I was younger. Like drink it non-stop all day, every day. And it never seemed to affect me when I was younger, probably because at the rate I was drinking it, that my body was able to break it down.
Adapt.
And I wasn't. Yeah, it was probably because I didn't really eat a whole lot of food anyway when I was younger, and definitely didn't eat a variety of food. But then when I cut it out, when I went back to like eating cheese and stuff like that, that's when I started having problems. So I think once my body had stopped digesting it, it's no longer able to digest it, if that makes sense.
Well, if you take something out of your diet for a long time and then reintroduce it, your body goes into a shock state.
Yeah, well,
that's why I still have like pizza, and I'll still have different cheeses, but just not every day, more once a month kind of thing, just so that you're not, because like you're just really cutting yourself off from a lot. Now there's people that just cannot have it, like, but I like to dabble.
Yeah, but it's like what they say, if you don't use it, you'll lose it. So you, like, if your body doesn't have to spend time on a particular function, it's not going to spend time on a particular function. But yeah, I find when I am being like when I'm stick with say like mostly plant-based stuff and eggs and dabble a little bit here and there, I feel 100 times better.
Oh yeah.
Like
But
a
it's
lot,
a
a lot
case of
better.
like putting diesel in a petrol car, petrol in a diesel car.
Yeah,
It'll
yeah, yeah,
still
yeah,
run,
yeah.
like, but it'll break down eventually.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah. It will go splat at some point.
yeah, it'll still run, but or if you put cooking oil in a car as well, I think that makes it run.
Yeah.
But how far it goes or what you do to the bits and pieces inside the car, well, then that's the outcome.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So when we were talking earlier on, another thing before we actually started recording, another thing that Katie and I, that Katie mentioned to talk about was getting ourselves ready for eventually coming out of lockdown. And I suppose, I don't know about anyone listening to this, but I, for one, the thoughts of coming back out of lockdown makes me panic a little bit. It's kind of like, I don't know, but possibly like what we were saying earlier on, I've adjusted to this. This is my reality at the moment. This is my life, and now it's like it's a whole new kind of upheaval then to go back into the real world.
Yeah, like every time it's mentioned, like the possibility of a date saying, oh yeah, well, things will start to reopen. I'm like, well, will I have to go back out? Like, will my work have to go back out? I'm like, am I ready for that? I've only just started to settle in and be okay with this, and now all of a sudden you want me to change again. It's a real roller coaster of emotions, like, and
yes, definitely.
I'm just saying, oh, how will everything be? And yeah, so what I'm trying to do is like, right, allow myself to have that little panicky moment and then be like, look, sure, there's no date being set yet, and it won't be a case of all the doors are open and everybody floods back in. No, it'll be a very slow, gradual release back into the community. So I let myself have those little kind of and I'm like, look, nothing has been decided yet, so it could be another week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, months, could be the end of summer, who knows at this point.
Yeah, that's it. And we don't know as well how slow or how fast they're going to lift restrictions, or what restrictions they're going to put in place because obviously we went into lockdown, or we went into, like, say, isolation and lockdown fairly quickly, but it's not going to be that quick coming back out of it. It's going to be a very slow wind up. Yeah. So how are you mentally preparing then for this, just kind of
keeping a good routine, as in getting up at the same time in the morning, going to bed at the same time at night, trying to still have that Monday to Friday mentality, and having my weekends, because like if you alter that too much, or just kind of have a here and there week and you just kind of float along, and if that is your life in general, that's grand. But like if you're a Monday to Friday kind of person and that's your job and that's your lifestyle, like start getting back into that now, because when it gets back to that kind of work week, it's going to be very hard, and you're going to be hit very hard energetically, emotionally, physically. So I'm just trying to keep my mornings and evenings scheduled routine, and eating at the same time as I normally would, like,
I suppose you don't
breakfast,
want it to
lunch,
be
and dinner.
It will be a massive shock to the system in general when everything goes back to, I suppose, like, I work from home, so it's grand. I work from home anyway. So it's not too bad, or not even that it's bad, but it's just not going to be a massive shift for me. But say anybody who's in a Monday to Friday 9 to 5 job where they go to their workplace, having all of what people for is having all of this time at home, actually you gain back 2 hours of your day that you wouldn't have had when you don't have to go to a workplace. And what I mean by that is there's probably an hour or more in the morning between getting up, getting ready, driving to work, all of that, and then there's probably an hour in the evening of getting home and doing your few bits on the way home. So that's 2 hours that you had back. And then so when you go back into work, then it's going to be such a massive shift compared to what people have been doing all along. And if you're not keeping in with your proper routine, or with a somewhat normal similar routine, then it kind of makes it a lot harder to.
Well, ma'am,
go on, sorry.
Oh, Man made a really good point the other day. She's like, hey, this is like your summer holidays. This is like
Mm,
when you go away for Christmas and then it's like bang back into January, and it's those two extremes. And to kind of safeguard that or soften that or make it a little bit easier for yourself is to kind of have your head in the space of like, no, this is my routine and I'm going to try and stay to it without being rigid. Like really
yeah,
do enjoy these last few weeks in lockdown or in social distancing or whatever, because you're never going to have it back again. So
no,
do enjoy it, but do, have it a happy medium. Like,
be
don't be too
mindful.
laxy. Be mindful, yeah. Don't have it too laxy daisy, but don't be too rigid on yourself either. And that's kind of
Yeah.
what I'm doing for myself at the moment. It's like, oh yeah, I'm really enjoying this, but I'm still going to have well, I thrive on routine anyway
Hmm.
because it's just the way I am. But yeah. What about you?
I I made a promise to myself when everything started to shut down that I was going to come out of all of this better than I went into it. Not that I went into it in any, I was grand, like, you know what I mean? There was nothing, I was all right. Like, there was nothing major going on. It's not that I had an awful lot of things that I needed to fix or anything, but I was like, wait, now I have all of this time, and I know come the end of this that if I haven't achieved something, or not necessarily achieved something, but if I haven't made some steps in forward, either personally, professionally, emotionally, physically, something, then I know I will be upset with myself. I know that I
Yeah.
will feel awful for wasting the time that I
Mm,
had. So that's like that's what I have been focusing on the last few weeks anyway. But that has kept me in a normal routine and has kept me kind of going. I have things that I have to do every day, and like I start my day with yoga, and I finish my day with. At the very least, I finish my day with a walk, but sometimes, but a lot of the days, I will end up doing a shorter kind of a what's the word, a quieter, I suppose, yoga practice in the evening, whether
mm,
it's like even 20 minutes of some nighttime bedtime something or other, you know, that kind of way to kind of
yeah, yeah.
wind down. But like I've been doing my very best to keep in a normal routine, because I don't know, when I'm on a normal routine, I'm sure there are other people who feel the same. I start to get in on myself a little bit, and I'm like,
Yeah, and
like
you see,
it's like you've pissed away another day now, Grace, and oh, you stayed in bed till 12 o'clock. What's that about? And oh, look, there you are
yeah.
again. Now you're just
Well,
eating
that's the
shite.
negative Nancy coming in on you.
Oh,
Actually, we
I'm
all
telling
have
you.
that. We
Yeah.
all have that.
There's another, that
Um,
negative Nancy. There's another thing that's extremely inventive. It's like
mm.
it'll find something
Sorry,
to.
any Nancy's that are listening, by the way, but you know
It's like we love you all. And it's
I'm sure
funny.
you're all very positive people, but yeah, it just has a ring to it. Like,
Yeah, it
but
does.
that's the
Yeah.
other side. The other topic that we were discussing that we cover is, kind of grief and sorrow and kind
Mm,
of all those things come flooding in, and everybody has grief, everybody has some sort of sorrow, and how this kind of time can really affect you, and
yeah.
it's to be aware of that, like, because when there's a space, it's always filled with something. And
Always.
grief is
Yeah.
always if it's not at the forefront, it'll certainly be brought forward. So, yeah,
Yeah,
that's
like that's what I was saying to you earlier on. I mentioned this in the podcast with Sai, but for anybody listening, but I lost my grandmother before Christmas, so it was in November, and that was a drawn out shock is what I would call it, because it happened over there was a couple of months, but it was very much a shock to the system, and I think I spent probably 3 months after that in shock, because I was fairly level all of the time afterwards. I had my few weeks of upset at the start, but then I felt kind of, what would I say, jarringly normal is the way I would put it. First of all, but for a while I was just brain fog. There was no emotion, no nothing, just brain fog. But in the last few weeks now, the emotion is starting to bubble up, and there
mm,
are like days where I'll spend the whole day crying. There are hours where I'll spend a few hours crying, or like this morning then I put a photo of her holding me as a baby up on my story, and I had to stop looking at the picture because every time I looked at it I started roaring. And I suppose for me I know that those feelings come and go. So that feeling of sadness and that kind of wanting to, that looking at the phone, wanting to scream, please come back at the phone. Do you know what I mean? Anything. I know that feeling will pass. I know that will go away. And it did. It went away in a couple of hours, and it'll come back again, and then it'll go away again. So I am okay with feeling sad, and I am okay with feeling all of these things, because I know that at some point they will pass. But I suppose for people listening to this, it's very hard. It's very hard when there's not a whole lot to occupy you. It's quite hard to sit with those feelings, and sometimes they can feel like they're never going to go away. So I would imagine that for an awful lot of people, this whole being at home and being left alone with your thoughts is probably not a very pleasant experience, for some people anyway. But I suppose one thing that I have to keep reminding myself of all of the time is that it's like that quote, "This too shall pass," and it does. You just have to wait it out, and sometimes you just have to cry, just sit there and sob and let it pass, and then hopefully move on with your day, or go to bed, take a nap, go for a walk. I know all of those things sound so silly, and sometimes they work. Sometimes you go for the walk like I did last week, and you end up bawling your eyes out for the whole walk. But yeah, I think this definitely brings up an awful lot of agitation for people, because there's so many feelings that people might not necessarily want to deal with. But then you are left with no choice.
Yeah. And like for me, I lost my brother 5 years ago, and like no matter how much yoga, meditation, and any of those things, those memories and all of that will come from the back of your mind to the forefront of your mind, and it'll be as raw as if it was today or yesterday that it happened. Like, and like that, there's no button or switch to turn it off. Like, it is there. So it's just to, like you said, if you're going to cry for the hours, cry, or if you're going to be angry, but they do lessen. They're not as intense, and some days they'll really hit you, and you'll be like, oh my God, did that actually happen? Or, you know, you expect them to still, someone will mention a name and you'd be like, oh yeah, that's my brother, and you're like, oh well, he's not here anymore. Like, and you know, it is, but like, it's just, that's life. And you know, like I said, no amount of meditation, yoga, or counseling, or any of those kind of things, sometimes it just doesn't put a band-aid on it, and it's an open wound. And yeah, you just have to allow yourself, be okay with it. And if you get frustrated with yourself, I always think of myself as a small child. A lot of people probably, and like, if that was a small child experiencing those feelings and sadness and grief, think of yourself as that small child. And sometimes that helps, because you're like, oh, would you cop onto yourself and get on with it or whatever? It's like, no, actually pull it back now, and you know, be extra tender with yourself, because you know, and then it's just building that kind of relationship with that, because it's happened, so you can't undo it. And as much as you look at that picture and wish that it didn't happen, or wish for them to come back, it's not going to happen. So
it's that whole comeback. That whole comeback thing comes into my head all of the time when I think about it, and I get upset. I just want to scream, come back. But then I'm also in my mind going, oh, that is bargaining. That's what you're doing there. You're bargaining. Do you know what I mean? Like, and the thing about this is, when I find, once I can identify that is bargaining, and I'm also going, that is the child that lives inside of me that desperately wants her to come back. And it's just, it is wasted energy that particular screaming comeback is wasted energy. But what's not wasted energy is I can sit down on the chair and hug my knees into my chest and wrap my arms around my legs and just cry. And I know I find trying to stuff back down those tears does absolutely nothing. It does
definitely
nothing, because that will rear its ugly head at some point.
Of course, yeah.
I don't people say that grief comes in waves. I don't necessarily think grief comes in waves. I think life comes in waves. And sometimes life is coming so hard and fast that you can't necessarily hear the grief. But then when life slows down a bit, the grief starts to speak up then again.
Oh yeah,
and you can hear it then again. Yeah, do you know what I mean? I think it's always there. For me anyway, it's definitely there, and it's lingering in my peripheral vision all of the time. I can almost feel it or almost see it, if that makes sense.
Well, you see, yours is so fresh, like, you know, yours is very fresh, whereas I was 2 years in kind of a fog.
Yeah, the fog.
And like your brain won't actually allow you to believe the extent of it because it's just too much to handle. So it'll drip feed you every now and again little snippets of it, and just take those snippets, because those snippets you're actually dealing with them as they drop in, rather than taking the big picture smack in the face 5 years later, 6 years later, you know. So like take small bits, digest small bites, and just let that kind of flow. And it's just, you never get over it, but you'll just learn to live in this way.
Yeah, I it's funny that you say there about drip feeding, because I think I might have said this to you before, but I remember the moment when she died. I remember feeling like somebody blew me out, like I was 1,000 candles and somebody just went, and it was the most gentle thing in the world. It was not this, there was no big, for me anyway, there was no big agonizing pain at that moment. It was very gentle, but it was like somebody just went and blew me out, and there was maybe 1 or 2 or 3 candles left lighting, and that was it. And it's like slowly since then I'll get the drip of there'll be something will come, and then I'll have my day, my week, my hour of roaring or just being an antichrist or being really anxious. But every time that happens, I feel like one little candle comes back. Yeah. And I slowly things start to come back. And slowly the joy comes back then as well. I think you can look back at moments then, and for them not to be so bittersweet, or for them not to hurt so much. The happy moments, and not have them not hurt as much. But
absolutely.
Grief is very much alive, I think, and it's always changing, and it really does move in you, and it moves with you. And I think you'll never get rid of it. I don't think it'll ever go away. But you definitely learn to accept the grief itself. As part of your life.
Yeah, there's no point in fighting it, because that's very exhausting. And like that, there's no room for joy or happiness or in truly living if you're constantly battling this grief all the time, because you won't win.
No, but it's like trying to run from your own shadow.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. But I think it's really hard for people at the moment who have been going through kind of recent grief, and they've been getting counselling or help, and that's just not available anymore, because there's nothing like the kind of face-to-face chat, or if they were going to like a holistic therapist like Reiki or massage or anything like that. As like, I feel like people are really suffering in that respect, like because they don't have that crutch that they had, or that kind of extra help.
Definitely. And even the different things, even the different things that people would do normally to help themselves cope, like say, even like driving out to Tramore and sitting looking at the water. You know, that's one very simple thing that I know some people love to do, just to not even Tramore, but just drive to the beach and look at the water. And there's something, so all of those little things that you might do to help yourself normally, or places you might go to remember that person, or places you might go to just to be with that person in your mind, and all of a sudden you're cut off from that then as well. So like what you're saying about going to Reiki and going for treatments and things like that, but there's also those smaller things that you might be really missing as well, that people might be really missing as well. That, like, I know, say last week when it really hit me one evening last week, and I was sitting in the house and I just felt so hamstrung, because what I wanted to do was go over to my other grandmother and go over and sit with her for a little while, do you know what I mean? Or that kind of thing, and you can't, and I couldn't do that, and that was really bothering me, and it kind of made it worse in the moment. But then I was kind of got myself together, well, not got myself together, but I kind of just sat on the sofa and cuddled my dog for a little while instead. But that can exacerbate everything.
Yeah, but if you can get through moments like that in these extreme circumstances, you come out of all this so much stronger, and so much more resilient, and things like that. So yeah, so if you are listening to this and you're going through a really dark time like this, these are really like exceptionally tough times, whether you're dealing with grief or not. And if you can pick yourself up and get through this day and the next day and the next day, like, fair play to you, because things will get so much easier after this, and people will be so much more resilient and much more aware of themselves. Because if you recognize yourself grieving and that kind of thing, that's great, because you're really getting in touch with what's really going on inside, like taking off all the masks and really dealing with what's going on inside. And some people are just so busy and so distracted that they don't, you know.
I think, and then there's this whole thing as well of people being awfully hard on themselves for getting upset or for feeling angry, and it's like, you have absolutely every right to feel whatever way you are feeling at any given moment in time. Nothing you are ever feeling is wrong or right or upside down. The feeling itself is really indifferent. How you react to it is another thing altogether. But you have every right to feel all of these things, and we have said this before in conversations with each other, and we have said this on previous podcasts, but it is so important when you're feeling like that to let that feeling wash over you and to pass through you, because you try, the longer you hold it, the longer you try and fight it, the longer you try and be strong and, to inverted commas, take one for the team or whatever it is, that's chipping away at yourself. So if you need to disintegrate into a puddle of tears on your kitchen floor, do it. Wrap yourself up in a blanket, cuddle your dog, give yourself a hug, listen to some nice music, whatever it is, cry your heart out. Absolutely cry your heart out, and just, sometimes you just have to feel it. You just have to. There's no avoiding it, unfortunately, and I find sometimes I'm better off anyways just turn around and face it head on, rather than trying to delay it for a little while.
Because afterwards you're going to have a big smile on your face and laugh at yourself, and you'll feel so much lighter, and you'll be like, that's what I feel. I'm just like, I do try and fight it, like sucking the tears back into the tear duct. I'm like, and then you just can't, and I just have the meltdown or the breakdown, and I'm like, okay,
but it's like,
I'm fine again.
Your chest tightens. So, well, I don't know, I find anyway, my chest gets tighter and tighter and tighter, and I'll get the lump in my throat then, the more I'm holding something in, you know what I mean? And then when I let it go, I'd probably have a pain in my head. My sinuses are probably a little bit at me. But you feel so much lighter and so much just lighter. Absolutely. And
it's a release though. It's a release.
Yeah, I do some laughing at myself after I cry though as well. Like, you can't laugh at yourself.
I'm just glad there's nobody looking at me, because I'm like, wow, I'm such an ugly crier.
Aren't we all though? Aren't we all?
Yeah, like, except for the people in the movies, but that's not real.
No, that's definitely not real, because you know, when I'm sobbing, there's a lot of tears, and my nose gets really snotty, and my eyes get all puffy, and it's just not pretty. I don't care though. Yeah, it's hard, but as with everything, nothing is permanent. No
No,
feeling is permanent. You do not feel happy permanently. You do not feel sad permanently. You
you
do
just have to
not.
take the good with the bad.
Absolutely. And another thing
Mm.
I would say as well is this feeling of, I know that there are going to be people that are listening to this, or people that people in general at the moment that are going to feel hopeless. And let me tell you, there is always, always, always hope. That is the biggest lie that I have ever told myself over the years, is that there was no hope, that things were never going to get better, that things were going to do this, that it was all hopeless. And it's that feeling of hopelessness, that's also temporary. That goes away as
Yeah.
well.
Mm.
But yeah, it's definitely a hard time for all of us, but I think if we're all there for each other, and most importantly there for ourselves,
Yeah. Well, if we're
we'll
there
get
for
there.
ourselves, we can be there for other people, because like if you're not there for yourself, it's very temporal strength
Yeah,
that you're grasping from external strength. Whereas if you're
yeah,
there for yourself, you can be of service to others, but tend to your own needs first, because
yes.
we're a lot
Fill
of
your
us
cup.
tend to give, yeah, a lot of us tend to give, and then there's nothing left. Whereas if
Mhm.
you make the change within yourself and do all what you can for yourself, and then go out and
Yeah,
help, but
yeah.
don't leave yourself vacant. Don't give, because you're worthy of, feeling strong and feeling
Mhm.
together and filling up your own cup and putting on your own mask first.
Yes,
As they
absolutely.
say in the
Yeah,
airplanes.
yeah,
But yeah,
yeah. So, will we leave it at that, Mrs.?
I think so, Grace.
Yeah, sending just because of obviously what we were talking about the last little while, can be difficult for people to talk about and difficult for people to hear. So I just want to let everybody who's listening to this know that I am sending you all the love in the world, and all of the hugs, and all of the good feelings. And I think anybody who is feeling a little bit upset, write yourself a nice letter, as if you were writing it to one of your friends, or talk to yourself as if you're talking to one of your friends, and give yourself a big hug. And I feel like if nothing else, some of us might come out of this learning how to kind of self-soothe, and there's so much power in that.
Mm.
So yeah, sending you all of the love.
Virtual hugs to everybody.
Yes.
That is it for episode 5. As always, thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for sharing. And thank you so much for the support that we've gotten so far. If any of you have anything that you would like us to discuss, or if you'd like to catch up with me or Katie, you can find us on Instagram. All of the links will be in the description below. Thank you very much.